And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're going to go through, do some hellos, some shouts out to the people in chat, and then we're going to get moving on and get the show rolling. I want to thank Lyle for sending all you over here. Catfish Weekly is one of my, if not my favorite show out there. And Stu was a great guest, man. I know I'm usually posting links and stuff in there, but I really wanted to listen to what Stu had to say. So if you haven't subscribed to Stu's channel, Total Angling Experience, make sure that you do. Stu's a hell of a guy. He really gets on it. All right, let's say hello to everybody. We have a couple crosses fishing. Hello, Betty. How are you, sis? Ellen Pirshala, how are you doing, my friend? Avid Fisherman, what's up, buddy? Brian B. Catfishing. Buckeye Catfishing. Miss Cindy Stokes. How are you, Cindy? Country Boy Catfishing. Dakota per year. What's going on, Dakota? I think you're new to the show. Thanks for checking it out. Ernie Brown. Fishing with Big Mike. Fishing with the Chad. What's up, buddy? Fishing Cooking with Mike Chavez. What's going on, Mike? You're absolutely right. $3,000 is a lot to spend on live scope. Man, I still want it. Pimpin' ain't easy. Fishing with Paula Smith. Hello, Paula Smith. Get Hooked with D Fishing. What's up, D? How are you? Greenwell Fishing. Bumpin' Mike. Green Machine Outdoors. Hello, Dan. Has Life. What's going on, Has? Has is kicking some butt. He was fishing with some sausages. I forget what the name of it was, but they resembled like they resembled some cheddar brats that we buy out here. That's good stuff. So Hooks and Hammocks, what's going on, Hooks? JP3, Kentucky Big Cats and Bourbon, what's going on, Tim? Laura the Explorer, she got her first catfish. I think she got a couple of them from her post. I think 3 if I'm not mistaken. Mexicat Fishing, Mexicat puts together some interesting YouTube videos. Check them out if you guys haven't. Which is a good thing. I don't mean that in the best way. Mike Irvin, what's going on? Mike Sampson, what's up, Sampy? Mo Creek Fisherman, what's going on, Rob? Muskrat Adventures, Roger, what's going on, Roger? Roger has his show on Tuesday nights, just so you guys know. Nebraska Wildcats, what's up? 1 Ton Fishing Club is doing their taco eating challenge tomorrow. Check them out before Roger's show. Parker Pursuits, what's up, Parker? Love the rod holder you got, especially the little decal on the inside. Don't get triggered, people. I'm just making a joke. River Cat Adventures, Rock Bottom Cats. Sharina's keeping it real. What's up, Sharina? I promise not to ban you today. Nobody banned Sharina. Somebody posted her link up for her. It's a long story. Thomas Littlepage. Uncle Lou. What's up, Uncle Lou? 2 Stands Fishing. Stands in the house. I understand Stan just crossed 600 subscribers, if I read correctly in the other chat. Let me scroll through here. Catfish and Dreams. What's up, Brandon? Chrissy Brown. Hello, Chrissy. Your prize from the drawing, Chrissy, went in the mail today. We had a snowstorm. Hopefully that won't hold it up too much. Ernie Brown, I hope I said hello to you. If not, I'm saying hello again. Fishing with Big Mike. People keep stacking in here. I'm trying to keep up with them. Ryan, let's see. Laura. Ohioan for life. What's going on? 42. River Red Adventures, Rock Bottom Cats. All right. I think I got a majority of them. We got a bunch of people in chat. So, all right. Welcome, everybody, to the Catfish and Crappie podcast. Tonight's guest, Mr. Ryan Bortz of Ryan Bortz Blue Collar Fishing. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great, buddy.
So, Ryan, let's me and you talk quite a bit. We have had our discussions in the past, but we're going to take this like this the first time we're meeting. For the people out there in podcast land, I do upload all my shows to podcast, and if you're in the live chat audience, you can always download them if you ever miss them or download back episodes. Listen to them on the road while you're fishing, while you're mowing the lawn, whatever you're doing. I really do appreciate it. It's taken off. I got a bunch of subscribers and a bunch of listeners already. So if you're here live, just keep that in mind when you're wondering why Mark's talking the way he is. That's exactly what's going on. It's for everybody. So let's talk about your start into the fishing world. How'd you get what attracted you to fishing, Ryan?
They say I was born with a fishing rod in my hand from birth, really. My papa and all my everybody always fished. You know, they crappie fish, chase bass, and I just kind of was born into it, I guess. And that's about it. I mean, just always done it. There's never been a day when I didn't. You know, it's just life.
What are some of your fondest or some of your earliest and fondest memories of fishing? You have any of those?
Man, probably my PB smallmouth I ever caught was one of my youngest. I think I was about 12 when I caught it. And we were out. I mean, we were having a horrible day, you know, smallmouth fishing in the spring. We was on the boat. And I just finally got tired, you know, and I was like, forget it. I'm taking lunch. I'm going to eat my sandwich. Well, we use, you know, Popeyes and minnows, just kind of like a crappie fishing setup in the spring and bounce it off the rocks. And I just took mine and dropped it down 4 or 5 foot under the boat, you know, and laid the rod down and was eating my bologna sandwich and some chips and drinking a pop. And I look over and that rod's about to go out of the boat. And I just reach over and grabbed it, you know, dropped my sandwich and that fish would just rip and drag. And it was like a 5 1/4 pound smallmouth. And it's still my PB today I've never broke that. But I'll never forget that. My papa said, Lord God, boy, you better land that one, you know, when it's time. And I'll never forget that. He actually got it mounted for me for my birthday. The next birthday I had coming, he gave it to me and it was mounted.
That's awesome. Do you still happen to have that mount?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something you'll hold on to. You said it was 5 1/4 pounds?
Yep.
That's a big smallmouth, man. You should be proud of that. And how old were you when you caught that?
12.
12 years old?
Yeah.
You mind if I ask how old you are now?
34.
And how does it make you feel now that you probably won't catch one that big again?
I'm on a different species now, so
okay.
That same fish be bait in another state now. So
yeah, pretty much. I don't know, man. There's a lot of respect out there, even for smallmouth. Something about a river making a different kind of bass that even I can appreciate. I'm pretty happy if I get one as bycatch. You know, smallmouth are pretty cool. Not that there's much wrong with largemouth bass, but they're just more, you know, prevalent and which is fine too. But smallmouth is just a step above. It's like the difference between a channel cat and a flathead, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, where I grew up, it's that lake I grew up fishing, Norris Lake in Tennessee. We chased smallmouth. You know, like they'd be having bass tournaments and all the guys be chasing largemouth. We would be chasing smallmouth. Largemouth bass to us were bycatches. And I just never, growing up, I never could understand why these people would be chasing the largemouth. You know, to me, they're kind of like a trash fish.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. You know what I mean? If we caught it, we was eating it. You know, there wasn't no place then. It was Papa's old school. You know, if he catches a 6-pound largemouth, he's eating it. And that's how I grew up. You know, we fished because we wanted fish to eat.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of us were kind of brought up like that. And, you know, up here north, the muskie guys and the walleye guys, they call them green carp. So that tells you a little bit about them and how they're looked upon around here. So very cool. So, Ryan, you are a competitive kayak tournament catfisherman, correct?
Yeah. I try to be competitive anyway.
I think you do all right. I've seen how some of your finishes are, so you do really well. Actually, I've seen you. I think I saw a post on Facebook today. You're in third, right behind Justin, and who is in second? Was that
Green Outdoors.
Green Machine? Dan?
Or I can't say his last name, but yeah, I'll probably never catch Justin in that. He's almost got a completely perfect score for that slot tournament. I mean, you have to catch a lot of fish to do a slot tournament that way. I mean, I could go out the next time I go out and catch 4 30.5-inch fish, you know, or 31.5-inch fish and catch him, I guess. But he's got about as good a score as you can get.
Can you explain to everybody what a slot tournament is and how that's scored?
All right, so your fish has to be between 12 and 31.25 inches. It's a 32-inch slot tournament. If your fish touches that 32-inch mark on the measuring board, it's too big. You can't, so, and we always downsize everything to the nearest 1/4 inch. So if it's just over 31 3/4, it'll count as, 31 3/4. If it's just under 31 3/4, it goes to 31 1/2. But as soon as you break that mark, as soon as you break that 32-inch mark, touch it on the board, then that's completely out for that fish. It's over slot.
Okay, now, and is there a reason for the slots? I guess is my question.
It levels the playing field. Like Justin and Dan, they're on 2 of the greatest rivers, and I've always said I could never compete with that in a trophy tournament, in a open size tournament. And me and Dan's been kind of talking about it, and he's been trying to get me in on the trophy tournaments, and I'm like, man, I just can't compete with y'all. Well, in the last week, I've had like 3 fish over 40 inches, and I'd be right up there neck and neck with Dan right now with my score that I would have posted. I entered a slot tournament, and I've had the best week of trophy catfishing of my life. And I refuse to quit trying to catch them monsters and try to put smaller baits on and target those smaller fish, because I'll take a loss on a tournament to burn them big fish up while I can, but it's actually proven to me that I am on the water to catch fish like that. I'm just advancing far enough as an angler, I guess, to where I'm starting to catch them regularly. 3 months ago, if I was getting a 40-inch fish once a month, I was happy. I was like, all right. And now if I don't get one once a week, I'm like, well, what'd I do wrong this week?
Now, real quick, let's say you do catch one that's over slot. Does that count as a maximum fish, or is it just disregarded in your score?
If you can enter both tournaments at the same time. And if you catch one over slot, you can still use it in the trophy fish tournament. And same way, we have a regional group that's Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, and that's actually where our whole Cats and Kayaks tournament series got started. And or it's actually Kayaks and Cats. That's where it all got started. A bunch of us just got together down here on the lake. A buddy of mine had an idea, and he got some prizes donated. We went down there for a free tournament, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And now it's grown into, in the summer months, we'll have 14, 15 competitors in the regional tournament. And then the national tournament, Kayak Mike just really got it rolling back in the winter. It was, I think, November when he finally got it all rolling, and it's rolling pretty good now. I think there's 10 competitors in each tournament. We actually had 6 or 7 in a little in-person tournament that he did up at Cohen Lake in Ohio. And that's unbelievable for a series that's only 3 months old,
So it's getting real popular. A lot of people are buying kayaks, and especially with what's going on right now with all the pandemic stuff, people are staying home, so they're able to get out on the water much. So I can understand if you're competitive at all, that something like that would appeal to who doesn't want to meet that need to be competitive and fish at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's half the reason I anymore, man. It's I love to fish, don't get me wrong, and I'd be out there regardless in a tournament or not in a tournament. But at the same time, I probably wouldn't sit out there in 20-degree weather, and deal with snow and ice floating around on the lake and everything else. I'd probably just stayed at the house. But that's what tournament fishing's all about. It pushes you to have to be a better angler. I'm not going to quit fishing a tournament series because somebody's better than me. I'm going to try to get myself better to beat them. And when I first started this, Shane, he was the guy that got me into it. He hit me up one day and he was like, hey, come fishing with me on that kayak, because I was out chasing bass and, here on the local lake, and I met him down there, and he's like, well, bring your kayak out and chase some of these fish with me. And I got out with him one day and got like a 15 or 20 pound blue or something. And I was like, I ain't chasing bass no more. I'm done with that.
Two Stands Fishing asked, does Ryan just do the slot tournaments, or do you do the trophy tournaments? I believe you'd already answered that, but let's make sure that Stan hears that you do.
I'll probably be in the trophy tournament next month in the Kayaks and Cats national scene.
Cool. So you do both then, right?
I have never done the trophy month longs. I think I did. I've did a couple weekend trophy tournaments, I think, with them, and our regional group. We do trophy tournaments in there as well. We switch it up. I mean, one weekend we had I don't know, it was 5 biggest fish for the month, and the biggest shad you could net that month counted toward your score. But you had to fill your 5 fish total for that month before you could put the shad up.
Really? They actually had a biggest shad part of that tournament.
It just keeps it interesting, I mean, it just.
Were there side bets involved in that?
No, but there probably would be. And if Kayak Mike lived closer to me, there would definitely be side bets on a lot of stuff.
What kind of prizes are we looking at these tournaments, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm not sure on the national level. I don't really keep up with that much. Most of the time, it's not near enough to cover the gas I spend back and forth to the lake in a couple of weeks. It's couple $100 or something here and there maybe. I'd say the national scene, it probably pays out a little better because it's got higher entry fees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at a couple $100 on it, maybe $350.
Do you have plans on eventually doing those tournaments?
Yeah, like I said, probably April I'll be in the trophy fish month long with Dan and all of them.
Okay, and you do keep mentioning that these happen like over a month's worth of time, correct?
All right, so we have our in-person tournaments, of course, where we all meet at the same ramp, launch from the same place. And then like Kentucky Lake, we're going down there in a couple of weeks for this will probably be our biggest tournament of the year, I'm assuming. And now it may not be, I may be wrong about that, but it's definitely going to be one of the biggest ones I'm in this year. And what we do there is you can launch anywhere on a Kentucky Lake as long as it's in a certain coordinates on the map. And Mike's got it all loaded into our Fishing Chaos app, where it shows you where the coordinates are and all that on the lake map.
Mm-hmm.
And but you have to leave from Lyndhurst at a certain time in the morning. That's our meetup spot. You can go anywhere you want to and launch and trailer or haul your kayak or whatever, but you have to be back there by I think 6 that evening. And that's where we'll do our awards thing and all that. It's just, I like it that way because that puts everybody on a level playing field.
It does.
And
that makes sense because there are no weigh-ins, and I know this. I just want to make sure that the people out there listening in the podcast are the ones that aren't familiar with it. When you're doing a kayak tournament, that's all by length, correct?
Yeah, it's all on a certified bump board. You have to use either a Catch, a Muskie bumper, or the Rapala brand bump boards.
Okay.
And I think that's the only 3. Mike knows more about the rules than I do. I just try to follow them. And he's the one that wrote them, but I'm pretty sure those are the 3 legal boards in our series. And, the Rapala board, you can get it, but I don't advise it. You have to screw it to a piece of wood for one thing, because it's just a thing. And then actually when you take the pictures of the fish on that board, we use an identifier. They give a number before the tournament starts, and you put that number in the picture with the fish, so you ain't trying to use last month's fish in this tournament or whatever.
Right. Keeps everybody honest. The reason why I bring it up is because you had mentioned that you guys have to meet up at a certain time when the day is over, and in most tournaments that would be for a weigh-in, but there's no reason for a weigh-in here. It's pretty much just to call it quits and make sure everybody gets there at this.
There at the same time, and nobody had any issues. Like you may have app issues or something, which in that case we all have each other's numbers or a way to get a hold of each other anyway to say, hey, look, the app's not working. Here's my fish, for that. But also, if you're at Lyndhurst or at our meetup spot, when you get back 10 minutes early, because I guarantee you, Mike and myself will probably be back 10 minutes early just in case there's any issues with that,
Well, it's better to be 10 minutes early than a minute late if you can get it there, right?
A tournament, I'm the last guy back to the ramp. Normally, if it says I can fish till 5 o'clock, I'm coming back into the ramp at 4:59. And that actually won me a tournament here the last time Kayak Mike come down and fished an in-person tournament here with me. He got cold and was back at the ramp like 30 minutes early, and that 30 minutes is what I caught I think I got 3 fish in that 30-minute window that put me in the lead and passed him. And that won me the tournament. But I wasn't going to quit, you know, even though I was 3 fish down, I wasn't going to quit before my time was up, and it paid off. It was a miserable day out there. It was probably 25-mile-an-hour wind that day, and it snowed like 3 inches that morning when we had got up to go down there. It was ridiculous weather, like 30 degrees, 25-mile-an-hour wind, relentless weather for a tournament.
It was pretty brutal today. I actually got out, do a little crappie fishing today, try to get on that pre-spawn ice out bite, and we had lots of snow, 20, 25-mile-an-hour winds, and I'm trying to cast in it, so I can only imagine what it would be like being in a kayak. It would be horrible.
Mike actually had his anchor down that day and was traveling at like 3 miles an hour or something in the wind. He fixed that. He's got him a never lost now, so that'll hold him.
Very cool. River Red Adventure says he met Ryan for the first time Saturday. You said you were a great guy, so I wanted to make sure that you saw that. I happen to agree, River Red Adventures. If you're listening at home on a podcast, I do want to remind everybody, if you come over to the Catfish and Crappie YouTube channel, we do this show live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do have prizes from time to time, and you can't win if you're not here. So come on over to the YouTube channel, watch, be part of the Catfish and Crappie family. There's a lot of good people out there. We might have some prizes, we might not, but it's always good to see you. And while you're here, subscribe and click the bell. I'd really appreciate it. So, Ryan, your latest video, Ryan has a YouTube channel for everybody listening at home. And what's the name of your YouTube channel, Ryan?
Ryan Bortz Blue Collar Fishing.
Blue Collar Fishing. I do have a link in the description here on YouTube, and I will have a link on the description on the podcast. So if you guys want to follow that and give him a sub, I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate it. He works. Ryan's probably one of the hardest fishermen that I've met so far. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but he's worth the sub. Check it out. One of his latest videos, there was an accident. You want to talk a little bit about what happened there without giving up any details? Make sure people go watch that video.
Yeah, there was a truck and trailer backed into the water to get a boat that day, and there's 3 people in the truck, and or 2 people in the truck and 1 in the boat. And the guy had pulled the boat up on the trailer and went to and hooked the front strap. He had the 2 in the truck pulling the boat out. And come to find out later on down the road, after it was all said and done, there was actually a brake line busted on the truck. Well, when they went to put the truck in gear to pull out, they hit neutral, and then the brake line busted, and they went back into the water. So we had just finished up a in-person tournament, and was all, you know, we're catfishermen. We like to meet at the ramp and tell lies and complain about not catching anything that day, I guess. And we just happened to be all at the top of the ramp talking and saw it all go down. And ended up, we went down there and threw life jackets at them and you know, got them out of the water. And there just happened to be a boat there that the one guy got out. You know, they pulled him up, the young kid, they got him up in the boat. And then the video is mostly about the adventure of pulling the truck out of the water. You know, we didn't want that guy, he only had liability insurance, so we didn't want that guy to have to pay a diver to come down there and hook to this truck and boat and trailer that had all sunk to the bottom of the lake at this point. And just a bunch of old rednecks out there, you know, a bunch of guys I fish with all the time just happened to be there on a boat, and we all got together and pulled that truck and trailer and boat out of the lake basically before any game wardens or anybody got there. We had it ready to roll.
It took a while to do. I remember watching that video. It did take a lot of work, and it did take quite some time, and you did a really good job of making sure you got all that on video. So if you guys, if someone could post links to Ryan's channel too, like I said, they're in the description, but in chat, it's a lot easier for them to go and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. So let's see what's going on here.
That day with the truck going in the water, that was probably the biggest lesson on cold water for me that I've ever learned. I mean, I've always known if I flip my kayak, I probably ain't coming home, you know, in 40-degree water or 35-degree water. I wear my PFD and you're going to float, but that floating ain't going to do you no good when that hypothermia gets you. And those people literally had about a minute, less than a minute of being in the water before they just locked up. Their muscles were just, I mean, it was unreal. They were locked up. They couldn't even get out of the water once we got them to the shore. You know, they couldn't even get to my truck. I went up and got dry shirts out of my truck. And actually, I ended up taking a couple of my hoodies that I had on off and giving to them and starting my truck to put them in there and warm up. But I realized that day that when I leave here to fish in the wintertime, that there's a chance I ain't coming home. You know what I mean? It's not going to stop me. You couldn't tell me I was going to die in one of my next 5 fishing trips and stop me. I probably still go.
Yeah, it does. Cold water is no joke. You know, being an ice fisherman, I know what the risks are. I know to be extra careful. And when you're in a kayak, you know, 40-degree water that's not frozen is not much difference than falling through the ice. So it's good to have your PFD, but you got to get to safety and you got to get warm. So I don't know how else to put it to everybody who's out there doing the winter fishing, whether it's on hard water or soft water. Please be careful. Use common sense and please be careful. So yeah, that's a cool video. I recommend everybody go over there and give him some views and check it out. You won't be disappointed. Let's talk about your 1-versus-1 with the man Creole catfishing.
Man, I knew I had that locked up for real.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's go way back to the beginning. Back when I first announced the 1-versus-1 fishing tournaments, which is a segment I hope to get going full swing here in the summer months, or in the spring and summer months, Ryan came in. I think, was it the first time you've been in one of my live shows?
Your live shows, yeah, it sure was.
And out comes this guy that I had no idea who he was or what was going on with the name, real long name, Ryan Bortz, Blue Collar Fishing. I was like, all right, and I announced it, and right away he called out who we called the bus driver and still do, Jeremy Dufour, Creole Catfishing, who had just come off a victory of like what was his victory? Was it 27 cats in the?
It was ridiculous.
Couples tournament.
Just everybody.
And we want to give Laura some credit on that. Absolutely, she was the wife in the boat. It was the couples tournament that he won. And Ryan just called out the biggest target in the room. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we had scheduled it for a Saturday. And Ryan shows up on his kayak. Jeremy's in his river boat on the Mississippi River. And you'll have to forgive me, I forgot what body of water you were on for that.
Taylorsville Lake here in central Kentucky.
Taylorsville Lake in central Kentucky. And Ryan's in his kayak. And I was like, this guy means business. He's ready to go. I was really impressed. And I know you didn't walk away with a victory, but I have to say, you worked your butt off that whole day, man. I was really impressed. I was tired watching you.
Yeah. You just kind of get used to it. I went into that tournament. I had the weekend before that, I'd caught like 20 fish or something in that day. And had a pretty good day. You know, I was like, I kind of felt decent about it. You know, I honestly, going into it, didn't think I had Creole beat at all. You know, Jeremy is a tremendous angler, and I honestly was trying to call him out because I felt like he was the best one in the room. And I figured, well, I'm trying to build a YouTube channel. How better to do that than call out the best guy in the room? You know, win, lose, or draw, you're going to build off of this. And I call him out, and he's like, sure. You know, he had actually made a comment just a little bit before that and said something about, well, how come nobody wants to call me out? And I'm like, I'll be your huckleberry, you know.
It got my attention, that's for sure. We've kind of been friends ever since. But, all right, so what were you thinking? Well, you got on the water that day. Tell us a little bit about what kind of day was it. It was, if I remember right, it was pretty overcast, maybe even a little windy, right?
It was like 15-mile-an-hour winds, overcast, and one of the coldest days we had so far. You know, temperatures, that's right when it first started getting down to like 25 at night and wasn't getting above much more than a good day 50, but I think it only got up to like 35 that day or something. And man, I I paddled and dragged and dragged and dragged and dragged, and I tried deep water and I tried shallow water, and I was marking fish, and I was extremely frustrated for real. I mean, I knew they were there, I just couldn't make them eat. I had good fresh bait. I was doing the same exact thing I'd done the weekend before, and what I ended up with, like 125-inch blue cat or something. I can't even remember now.
You didn't get skunked. That's all that counts, right?
Had a great day. I mean, I got to know you pretty good that day, and got to know Jeremy good that day, and you know, made some good lifelong friends, you know, out of that. Gained a lot more than I ever actually thought I would when I set out to do it.
Yeah, it's like I said before. I mean, the catfish family here at Catfish and Crappie is awesome, and you show up at the live shows and you'll meet everybody and you'll understand what we're saying. Fishing with the Chat, it said Lord DeFore caught 23 and Jeremy just caught a suntan that day. No, Jeremy, he might have something to say about that. So, for those of you listening at home or on podcast, and you're not familiar with dragging baits is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You're dragging baits with a weight at the end, or a weight between your bait and your rod, and a float between the weight and the hook, and you just dragging those baits across a lot of territory. And remember, Ryan's doing this on a kayak. I don't think I saw you stop paddling for what? It was 6 hours, wasn't it?
I actually fished. I had been fishing for like 2 or 3 hours before the live stream started, and was fishing like 2 or 3 hours after it was over that day, because I was in a weekend long tournament at the same time. Actually, I think that was the first tournament where I took on Justin Johnson in a tournament, and he walked all over me that day. That weekend, I had one fish, and I think he posted up all 5 of them. Dan might have won that tournament. I can't remember.
And Justin, for those of you who don't know, that's Kayak Catfish fame out here on YouTube. He's a real big name, and you don't stop going head to head with the biggest targets in the room, do you?
No, I'm constantly, and Dan is getting up there with Justin Johnson. You know, they're probably the 2 best in the game right now, my opinion. You know.
Well, don't sell yourself short. I've seen some of your finishes. I think you're getting up there too. So,
but I've learned a lot from both of those guys for real, and I've got dream trips to both of their waters that they're fishing right now, just to try to. I don't want to say measure up against them, but I would like to challenge, you know, myself to fish where they're fishing and catch what they're catching. I'll put it that way.
And what waterways are those?
Dan is on the James River, and Justin Kayak Catfish is on the Tennessee River.
Tennessee River. Those are both great fisheries. Great fisheries. That's an understatement even saying that. So, I mean, they're killing it on that James River, and the Tennessee is just as good. Yeah, those are on my must fish bucket list as well. So I can understand you wanting to do that. How do you conquer huge bodies of water like that on a kayak? I mean, you get on Navionics first, find your drop in place.
Our Kentucky lake trip that we got in 2 weeks, I've been studying lake maps for 2 weeks. I mean, if I'm out there fishing and the bite's slow, I'm studying lake maps for something else. I mean, I live and breathe fishing every day in some way. If I can't get on the water, I'm studying lake maps or prepping gear, watching a video, you know, something, trying to figure out what I can do to improve myself. And I don't want to do anything exactly like anybody else. So I'll watch Justin's videos, and I watch Dan's videos, and I watch your videos, I watch Creole's videos, and I try to take all that knowledge and cram it into one thing and make my own out of all of it. You know what I mean? They're all on different water, and they're all doing different things that are similar. And I just try to take the best of every world and make my own way out of it. And that's how I got started. I had a guy named Shane. I'd never chased catfish in my life, you know, and I caught them by bycatches, and that was it. And Shane took me out, and he's like, well, this is what I do, and this is why I do it. And I just started building off of that, and I've built my own way of doing everything. And dragging baits is by far, that's my favorite technique ever so far. I want to try bumping when I get up on the big river up on the Ohio. I'm wanting to go bumping from the kayak. I've never seen anybody do that. And bumping, just when that fish hits that rod and it in your hand, I feel like that's going to be a rush on a kayak.
I think it'll be fun. I've had some limited experience with big catfish on a kayak, and a 30-pound flathead will pull you around a little bit in some current, but I can only imagine once you get into one of them big slobs how much fun that's got to be. So
I actually broke my PB Wednesday. It scored in the tournament at 45 3/4 inches blue cat, and that's a good fish here. The biggest one I've ever seen. I've seen two bigger than that come out of this lake. One of them is on my video, Good Day Bank Fishing with Lucky Ronnie, and the other one was in an in-person tournament. I never actually got to see the fish. I watched the live video of them measuring the fish, but I was around the corner of the lake and couldn't see it. And the one Lucky Ronnie caught from the bank was about 53 inches long, and the other one was 40, I think it was 47 or 47 and a half, caught by Mike Bearding. So a 46-inch fish on this lake is very respectable.
That's a respectable fish anywhere. That's a good fish. I mean, you got your really, really big fish, but that's going to, as far as I'm considered, as far as I'm concerned, that's a great fish. I did see that video too. I was like, what? It was bank fishing. I know we got our bank fishermen out there in the live chat, and they're always rooting for the bank guys. So that's one for them to be proud of. Creole Catfishing says, I wants to know, Ryan, when are you ready for the rematch?
Any day, buddy.
I knew that answer was coming.
Yeah, he don't want to smoke right now after the week I've had.
Two Stands Fishing 3 asks when there's any 1-versus-1 in the future. I think I know a kayak fisherman you might be able to talk into one, and he might be on the screen here talking to me. I do have one. Hold on a second here. I just missed a chat. I apologize. Anybody catching any monsters this week? Not me. I've caught a couple. I've gotten 2 limits of crappie under my belt. I don't know if that counts for monsters, but it counts for some good dinner.
I've had a PB this week and 2 other fish over 40 inches. I got one yesterday actually that was over 40 inches in an evening trip I pulled just for a few hours. And I don't think I've ever had 3 40-inch fish in a month, and I've got 3 in a week. So springtime's here.
Very cool. I know I got a couple of 1-versus-1s in the work. We're waiting on some people and some waters to come down, and some people to get off of work, so that'll be good. Let me know if you want that rematch. I'd be happy to host you on the channel as always. Has Life says he caught a 50 on Wednesday. Congratulations, Has. Very, very cool. So what is your PB that you caught this week?
It's 46 3/4 or 45 3/4 inches. I can't guess a fish because I've never actually had a set of scales to put a fish on. I don't care about the weight. All I care about is how long they are. I've had somebody say 45. I had one guy say 60. You know what I mean? Just looking at the pictures of it. It's posted to my social media if you want to go on there and look at it and give a guess on it. Like I said, I don't really care about the weight of it. I call it 50 and I'll call it 30 and be happy. You know, it did what I wanted to do. It's got the big fish spot locked up in that tournament. So
very cool. Yeah, that's the one thing that I find hard to get used to is the length versus weight, because me being a boat fisherman and a bank fisherman, it's always been weight ever since I could tell. But I can understand that one way to measure it. I don't know. I'd be kind of brokenhearted knowing I got a 45-inch fish that's, twice the girth of a 45-inch fish that I caught the week before. I'd need to know that. But
yeah.
I can understand that in a kayak. I guess it would be really hard to weigh a fish on a kayak, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if you check out my Facebook page, you can see just trying to move those fish around. Some of the videos and stuff. Just trying to move those fish around. You have to be careful of how you go about pulling the fish into the kayak, how you handle it while you've got it. Because if you're holding a fish up, like this to get a picture or get it on video and it goes to flopping, well, all that weight's up here, you're moving quite a bit when it starts flopping around. A 50-pound blue cat gets to flopping in a kayak, it can make a lot of havoc real quick.
It can, especially if you're fishing in that cold water. It makes you be really careful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it changes the way you do stuff a little bit. I've got a boat sitting out here. I use it and I take the woman and the kids and fish and ride around the lake or whatever. But when I go out catfishing, I want my kayak. I want that added adrenaline rush of sitting there and watching that rod fold over, or sitting there playing on my phone, and then you get that hit and it just rattles you, man. I mean, your whole body just shakes. And then next thing you know, you're zipping across the lake at what feels like 20 miles an hour, trying to get the rod out of the rod holder.
You ever hook into one of them fish and they take you so far? Well, you're dragging baits. I would think if you're anchoring, that if they pull you off your anchor, you'd lose your spot. That would be kind of hard to deal with in the past. But what kind of electronics are you using on your kayak?
I've got my No Canoe kayak, the one I was in before. It was a No Canoe Frontier 12. I had a Helix 7 DI on it. I didn't have the side image. I had the down image. And I liked that pretty good. But then when I bought this other kayak, I bought the Hobie PA 12. And it came with the Lowrance Hook 7 XTI, I think it's called, or TIX or something. It's got the side image, the down image, the mapping, everything on it. And that's a game changer. I highly recommend, if you're a catfisherman, the side image and the down image, and if for nothing else, for finding bait. That makes finding bait, because now instead of being able to see the 10 feet directly under me, 10 feet wide, I can now see 70, 80, 100 feet out each side of me to see where that bait school's at. And then I just mark it with the cursor, go back into my maps, find that mark, go throw my net and hit that spot with my mark, and I've got bait for the day.
Fantastic. Now, let me ask you this. I know how side imaging works. So what do? Just turn the scroll speed down to the lowest level and just paddle like crazy, or what? How do you get a clear picture with that?
My new kayak is a pedal drive.
Right.
And now I'm just learning all the electronics, because I didn't even have electronics until 4 months ago. And what I do is I turn the speed on auto, so it matches the speed of the kayak. And it doesn't work well if you're trying to, like, a lot of people I've seen drift and drag on kayaks, they want to drift sideways with drift socks out the side of their kayak. I like to drift straight on, with my back into the wind. Number one, because the wind's cold and I don't want to hit me in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big baby about it. But number two is because when you hook a fish and you're dragging baits, I've got a pedal drive on the Hobie. So when I'm dragging and I hit that and that fish hits that bait, I can pedal and control how it spins me. It's not just going to turn me around and knot up 4 rods worth of line into one big knot and make a mess. I can control that and keep that fish out of my other lines. So that's why I want to keep it dragging in a straight line.
So, and do you keep your poles behind you, correct?
I keep 2 behind me, and that's my dragging rods. And I run Sandy Cooper rigs on them. And the 2 in front of me, I have way up toward the front of the kayak, and I have them drop straight down below me with Carolina rigs suspended.
So you're just suspending those. Okay, that makes sense.
And I've actually looking at using a set of planer boards and trying to drag 4 rods at a time. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I'll probably make a bloopers video out of that, because I'm sure it'll be a mess. I've actually got a set of Blue Dog planer boards here that I've won in Catfish Weekly a while back. I'm going to try dragging 4 at a time.
I like my Blue Dog planer boards. That's the Junior Proctor ones, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was nice enough to put my logo on them too, so I was pretty excited to get those. That was kind of neat. But I'm new to dragging baits as of last year, so I'm going to do a lot more of that this year. I'm looking forward to it, and thanks again, Junior, for taking care of that for me, so I appreciate it. All right, let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. how is YouTube going for you? Are you liking it? Are you finding it to be more work than it's worth? Is it something that you're really getting into? What are your plans? A lot of questions there.
I had my camera set up and stuff all rigged up nice and getting it the way I wanted it on the new canoe kayak. And then right about the time I got everything set up the way I wanted it, I got a new kayak. So I've got to restart doing all that. And Hobie is a whole different breed when it comes to kayaks. There's nothing the same on them. All the mounts are going to be different, and I'm having to get all new stuff for that. So, but I should have that taken care of, and probably my first video with all the stuff rigged up on there will be my Kentucky lake trip, 2 weeks from this past Saturday. So I'll probably have a video out about that. Will probably be the next video I make.
Very cool. And how are you liking that Hobie compared to the new canoe?
I'm going to do a comparison video. My only downfall is the stability of it. You know, I was really disappointed in the stability on the Hobie versus the new canoe. I'm not going to fall out of it, don't get me wrong, but if I want to stand up and take a leak, I'm used to being able to do that. And you got to watch how you do it on the Hobie. You know, I mean,
well, it sits a little higher in the water, doesn't it, if I'm not mistaken?
And part of it is I have all my batteries and stuff mounted right in the front of the hull right now. And I'm sure that being right in the V of that boat is causing it to be a little more unstable. I'm going to do some re-rigging and moving on some of that stuff. And I'm actually going to redo the front rod holders on it. It's got plastic. I don't even remember what brand they are on it now. I'm getting ready to put monsters on the front. I've got monsters on the back. Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to put some monsters on the front. I think I'm going to put the Talon 535s on there. And that's the cool thing about kayak fishing. Really, there's no right or no wrong way of doing any of it. It's all, nobody makes a mount for a kayak to put rod holders on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You just make it and do it yourself for the most part. There's a few companies out there that do, but they're not universal from one kayak to the next because every kayak's made completely different. And I've always just been the kind of guy that fabricate and make what I need for myself, you know, figure it out and go on. But that's kind of what draws me into it. You get to see what everybody else does. And, well, this guy did this way and he did this way, so I'm going to do it between the two of them.
Yeah, everybody has different styles. We're all different sizes. We all have different canoe or kayaks, boats, whatever. So always, like you were saying earlier about taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that from all the YouTube people that you're watching, all the people you're talking to. It's the same with gear. I always find it, you know, nothing works the best for everybody. Just find out what bits and pieces from each and all of that works for you and put that together, which is one of the reasons one of the highlights or one of the things I really like about fishing is that whole hobby aspect of it. And I don't care what anybody says, that's a big part of it. Everything from tying jigs to rigging boats and buying gear and setting it up. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's an addiction is what it is. I mean, it's just like anything else. It's just a healthy addiction, if you ask me. You know,
I agree. Maybe not to the bank account all the time, or to some marriages if you get out of hand, but you know, it could be worse.
That's where you got to start doing better and find people like Chris at Muddy River and Jimmy at Sandy Drifters. And as you know, you get good and they start looking at you and they'll help you out a little bit. But
well, you have some people that are helping you out and sponsoring you, correct? Or are you want to give them a shout out?
Yeah, Chris Flores at Muddy River Rods. I'm actually waiting on a shipment of his stuff to come in right now. I kind of thought it might be here today, but probably be here tomorrow. I love the Blue Cat rods, man. That's what I've caught all my big fish on this week, and they handle them great. And actually, the Sandy Cooper rigs I was talking about earlier for dragging, when I'm dragging baits, I use the Santee drifters from Jim Smith. He picked me up last year. Me and him got to talking. He sponsored me on my drifting weights, and man, he didn't lie when he said they were good. You know, I've lost, I think, I probably lost 10 rigs in 8 months or something. You know, and that was, I've lost one drifting weight because of the drifting weight got hung up and pulled the swivel out. They've got a 10-pound swivel attached to them that breaks. You know, if the sinker hangs up, so you get the rest of your rig back. I've had one to do that. The rest of them was the hook hung up. I could pick the weight up and drop it and feel it come up and hit the bottom, but the hook was what was snagged up. And that's when I learned to run lighter leader line than you do main line, so you get half your rig back anyway.
I'm a big fan of that. I really am. I know a lot of guys run the really heavy leaders, thinking that it's going to help in for abrasion resistance and stuff. But I don't know. There's something about getting that lead back that makes me, not just feel better in the pocket, but makes me feel better about the environment. I'd rather not leave the lead down there. So.
Not only that, you only got one knot to tie instead of having to tie.
That's right. Make sure you check that knot, though, man. You got to check it when you get it back. You might pull it a little loose or something, but I haven't had one give doing it like that. I mean, I've had a pole, and I'm not even going to kid you, which is probably not a good idea, that I've had rigged up for a whole summer where I never had to retie from the swivel back. I use sinker slides and stuff so I can adjust the weight. But other than that, I haven't had to retie, and it's never broke off after a lot of fish. So it's treated me well.
I actually had a whisker seeker float that I found at Kentucky Lake this time 1 year ago, this coming weekend, as a matter of fact. And I've been using that same float. I've re-rigged it, I don't know how many times, but I've been using that same float for a year before I finally lost it, and I lost it this past weekend. And that's actually how I decided to do my last video, how to tie the Sandy Drifter rig or Sandy Cooper rig, because I actually finally lost one, and I was like, well, this is a good time to show people how I tie this rig. And I did a rig time video. And but we was talking about sponsors. I've got the Isaiah House Treatment Center. That's the drug rehab I went through right at 4 years ago, and they sponsor me in my fishing tournaments now. I mean, how awesome is that?
That is awesome.
I worked there. The place saved my life, hands down. And now they sponsor me and pay my entry fees in fishing tournaments. I mean, that's
how good is that? That's like a double blessing, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I got Daniel Remar from Never Lost Anchors. The video you was talking about pulling that truck out, I lost my anchor in that video because the rope broke, and that's what I used to hook to that truck. I up, and he's like, oh man, you've had that thing for over a year, and I think it's almost been 2 years, as a matter of fact, since I got that anchor. Fish the Ohio River and drop it right straight down in a brush pile. It always comes back and never fails to hold you, Can't say enough about those anchors. I've never had a situation where it didn't hold me where I was supposed to be or where I wanted to be, or a fish would drag me off. I fished 3 mile an hour current on the Ohio River in a kayak, and it held. So,
what size anchor are you running in a kayak, out of curiosity?
Honestly, it's a 7.5 pound anchor, and I've actually used it in 20 mile an hour winds to hold my 18-foot bass boat in place.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I can't say enough about his anchors, honestly. And then I got Whiskey Bent Valley Boys is another one of my sponsors. They're a old-time bluegrass band. And I met I guess he's the leader of the band, Robert Dixon, down here at the lake. He's a catfisherman too. And he's like, hey, man, use my music in your videos and I'll sponsor you. What would you want? And I was like, man, buy me some terminal tackle and let me legally use your music in my videos, and we're cool. So he buys my hooks and swivels and stuff like that for the most part, and I get to use all his music in my YouTube videos, so I don't have to worry about copyrighted music at all.
That's a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have a friend that is willing to make all sorts of music for me, so I kind of get that too. I just need to talk him into buying my terminal tackle for me, and I'll be good to go. Excuse me. So where you plan on taking your channel from here?
Wherever it goes, man. I have no expectations and no goals. Someday it'd be cool to get paid for it. If not, so be it. I'm just doing it for fun. If I can help somebody learn how to catch a fish, awesome. I mean, if person watches my last video and says, "Hey man, I watched that video and learned how to tie a Sandy Cooper rig, and I went out a couple weeks later and caught a personal best with it." That's the best thing that could possibly happen with it. I couldn't ask for anything else out of the channel other than that.
It's good to share the wealth, right? Or share the knowledge with everybody. It makes you feel pretty good about each other. It grows the sport. It gives us something to hope for tomorrow. You never know what kid's watching either, and you might inspire him. And I can't think of too many other people that work as hard as you do at catching fish. So you're probably an inspiration there. So either that or you're scaring people off if they think it's that hard, that much work involved. But
that's work, that's for sure.
That's a good thing, though. So you got any plans to fish this weekend?
Man, I'm probably going to honestly hit right here at my local lake. It's been on fire here for the last week since Wednesday. Before that, this lake, there was nobody catching fish. I mean, February was horrible to us here. The lake froze over the second week of February or something, then it thawed out right at the last week of February. When it thawed out, there was a huge shad kill. You couldn't buy a bite. I mean, nobody was catching fish for like 2 weeks, and it was froze over for 2 weeks, and then nobody could get a bite for 2 weeks. I went out this past Wednesday, and it was just lit up. It's just like you turned the switch back on and told the fish to wake up.
I think it's starting to turn on up here too by me. I know a lot of guys that were out fishing that had a really, really slow, maybe even non-existent bite out here, at least on the channels. Flatheads, we're way off of flatheads. We're at least a month and a half away. My earliest one might have been a month from tomorrow, but that was exceptional. I got lucky on that one. But finally, I know Ryan over at Ryan Setting Hooks, Crossing Eyes, he posted some pictures. I know another friend of mine just got into one channel, but before that, I've heard nothing but people griping about how hard the bite was. So hopefully that'll happen. We did have a cold front move in today. We had snow and rain and 28 degrees and 25-mile-an-hour winds. So it's been pretty rough. Hopefully it'll warm up and this front will move out and we'll get some fish. So, Ryan, you got anything else you want to share with us? We're coming up on an hour here.
Just everybody come over on the Facebook groups on Kayaks and Cats official tournament trail. And if you go on Facebook groups and search Kayak Catfishing Tournaments, that's our national page. Come over and join those two groups and follow along. It's fun to keep up with us on there. A lot of us do a lot of smack talking, but we're all real good friends. Me and Kayak Mike's probably two of the biggest rivals on there for real. And I gave him bait before the tournament, this past Saturday. And I mean, that's just the way we are. Me and him's battled it out since he got into the scene with me. And he'll hook me up with bait, or he'll come stay at my house, or I'll hook him up with bait or whatever. That's just the nature of the sport, I guess. But come over and check those two groups out and follow along. It's fun to watch the race over the month-long tournaments and see who's passing who and who's beating who. It may change place 3 times a day. Who's leading or who's in second or whatever.
Do you guys have a lot of smack talking on the groups?
Oh, we definitely do.
Okay, so if you're into that, check that out.
Mainly for me, honestly.
Good for you. Hey, how can people out there get in touch with you besides your YouTube channel, which is the links are going to be in the descriptions both on YouTube and on the podcast?
Facebook. Just hit me up on Messenger or follow along on my Facebook. I'm always posting fish pictures or fishing reports or something on there. I've not got an Instagram yet. I'm getting ready to start that up. I've been told by several people I need to get an Instagram, so I'm gonna have to figure that one out.
I need to up my Instagram game as well. So there's only so much time in the day, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, Ryan, it was great talking to you, not just person to person, but with everybody here watching. Like I said, me and Ryan talk once in a while. He calls me with questions. I call him with questions, and we kind of exchange ideas and stuff. He's a good man, so please give him a sub. Check out his links in the description. If you're listening to this on the podcast, do you have a page for Ryan Bortz Blue Collar Fishing, or is it just your personal page that you use?
Personal page, but
okay.
My motto on accepting friend requests on my personal page: if you're holding a fish in your profile picture, you get added.
There you go. Check out Ryan Bortz on Facebook, soon to be Instagram. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching. Thank you for everybody who's going to be down or has downloaded the podcast. I appreciate the support. I also want to give a big shout out to everybody that helped me get to 1,000 subs on YouTube. It's a big accomplishment. I pretty much met my goal, so I'm happy for that, and I could have done it without the support of everybody that's here and the people that share my links and say nice things about me. Hopefully they keep doing that. Saying nice things about me. So all right, guys, have a great night. Thank you very much for listening. God bless. Have a great week. All right, bye-bye.